What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do with me on this channel. What it does is that it helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And yes, that does also help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm also. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And man, oh man, the DNC tears are still flowing through the streets for Joe Biden's atrocious debate performance against Donald Trump last night. The tears just keep flowing. It is unbelievable the way that Democrats are struggling to cope with what they watched last night. Now, here is a quick clip from The View in which we have Sunny. I believe her last name is Hostin. I always get her last name wrong, but it really doesn't matter because I just want you to take a moment to listen to what she had to say concerning Biden's atrocious performance. She gets into whataboutism, and you're going to see what I mean in just a moment. And it's so tragic. It's so pathetic. It is just unbelievable how much they are struggling to cope with Biden's pathetic performance last night. But that's enough of me talking. Let's just get into this clip here with Sunny.
Look, I think what we saw was that Biden lost that debate. I think that is an accurate depiction of what happened. Blame it on a cold, blame it on his stuttering.
Let's stop right there. I know it's early, but let's stop right there. If you pay attention to what's going on now, it appears that all the DNC heads have gotten their notes to run with this lie now that Joe Biden has a stutter. Joe Biden has never had a stutter. He is not someone who was born with a stutter. Go back and listen to him giving a eulogy to Klansman Robert Byrd, and we'll get into a little bit more of that later. But Klansman Robert Byrd, he delivered his eulogy. Joe Biden didn't stutter one time. Listen to any speech or lecture from Joe Biden pre-2020, any speech or lecture from Joe Biden during the Obama years when he was a vice president. This man has never had a stutter, but now that is the lie that everyone is running with, that apparently now Biden was born with a stutter and has always had a stutter. But listen to this ridiculous thing that she's getting ready to say next.
Blame it on over preparation.
Blame it on over preparation? Blame it on over preparation. That's the reason that Joe Biden was fumbling and stumbling all over himself, because he over prepared. He had so much knowledge and so much data crammed in his mind that it resulted in him speaking on one topic, and by the time he finished his sentence, he was talking about a whole other topic that he wasn't even originally speaking on.
Whatever, but he did lose. Maybe he needs to go. Maybe he needs to be honest with himself and the American people. He can bow out at this time with grace and dignity. He has a record he can be proud of.
Does he really have a record that he can be proud of? I mean, if you're an illegal immigrant, then yeah, you can be proud of Joe Biden's record. He's done a lot for you. But for the American citizen, what record does Joe Biden have that he can be proud of?
But what I will say this, I think it's really ironic that we're the only party talking about needing to replace our nominee. I think it's really ironic that the party that should be pressuring their candidate to step aside is the Republican Party.
Oh boy, what about Trump? Here we go with the whataboutisms.
Their nominee is a convicted felon. He's facing hundreds of charges for criminal activity and has been proven to be a racist, a business fraud, liable for sexual abuse, an insurrectionist. And as Biden said, he has the morals of an alley cat. Republicans need to be holding him accountable.
She actually wrote this down, by the way. You see her looking at her notes. It's pathetic.
The majority of the party, which has been cowardly and feckless and complicit and enabling in allowing Trump's racism to...
You know it's bad when you had to double down on the racism. You just said he was racist. She had to circle back because even with notes, she lost her train of thought and just resulted to racism. I want to stop there for a minute. Let's talk about racism because it is amazing to me how people like Sonny love to harp on how racist Donald Trump is and at the same time ignore Joe Biden's racist history. But let's talk about Joe Biden's racism very briefly for those of you who may not be aware. Maybe you're young and you just don't know. Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. This law was sponsored and partly written by Biden, ratcheted up penalties for drug crimes. It also created a big sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine, even though the drugs are pharmacologically similar. The law made it so someone would need to possess 100 times the amount of powder cocaine to be eligible for the same mandatory minimum sentence for crack. Since crack is more commonly used by Black Americans, this sentencing disparity helped fuel big racial disparities in incarceration. Joe Biden is responsible for thousands of Black Americans being sent to jail because that law was targeted to put Black Americans in jail. But that's not all. There's more. Let's do a little fact checking concerning Joe Biden delivering the eulogy for Klansman Robert Byrd. Now, as you can see here, it says fact check. Robert Byrd, eulogized by Joe Biden at funeral, was not KKK Grand Wizard. A lot of people said that Robert Byrd was a KKK wizard. He was not a Klan's wizard. But here's what's so funny about fact checking and how fraudulent that it actually is. Because if you just go by the headline alone, you'll walk away from this video thinking that I'm pushing misinformation, disinformation, fake news, malinformation. But if you just do a little reading, you'll see that I'm not. Social media users have been sharing content online that claims Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden eulogized Robert Byrd, asserting he was the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. The claim is partially false, just partially false. The senator was never the Grand Wizard of the KKK, and he has acknowledged and apologized for his membership during his youth. Well, isn't that nice? Being a Klansman is all right as long as you apologize for it. And that makes it just fine for Joe Biden to deliver your eulogy. And mind you, once again, as I've stated numerous times in the past, Joe Biden refers to this man as his leader. He never called him by the first name Robert. He always referred to him as leader. And that is a fact that you can check for yourself. And now let's get into this very quickly. Fact check: an alleged Biden quote claims he once said he didn't want his kids growing up in a racial jungle. Here are the facts. And I'll spare you the reading. Let's just get to the meat of this. As you can see here in blue, the quote is accurate as reported. Yeah, he didn't want Black kids being bused to his kid's school and bused in his neighborhood because he was scared that if Black kids got bused into his kid's school and into his neighborhood and his children's school would turn into a racial jungle if those Black kids showed up. But I digress. Trump is racist, orange man bad, Biden 2024. Let's get back to Sonny.
Bullying, his demagoguery, misogyny. Why are we, as Democrats, those of us that are Democrats, calling for our nominee to change?
Because he's losing tonight.
I'll tell you why you're calling for your nominee to change. You need your nominee to change because he is a walking corpse. And that's not because that's what I say and what I think and how I feel. Well, that is what I think and how I feel. But even Sonny herself at the top of this video said that she was mourning Joe Biden, the walking corpse Joe Biden. She says this at the top of the video. Let's listen to this here.
Well, glad somebody's happy and enthusiastic today. I think they're on medication.
Because most of us are mourning.
Mourning, yes. Well, let's not get too depressed yet.
Didn't she just say because most of us are mourning? Do you mourn a live person? Do you mourn a dead person? It looks like she's mourning a walking corpse by the name of Joe Biden, who lost miserably in his debate to Donald Trump. So much so that even in this video that I played, Sonny had to acknowledge that Biden lost and he lost miserably. But what about Trump? But what about Trump? But what about Trump? Well, Trump still has all his faculties together and Joe Biden doesn't. And that's pretty clear to see. And you all have to eat crow and admit that with us. The truth that we have all been saying all this time, you are all forced to recognize and are struggling badly to cope. The DNC tears are flooding the streets today, and I have been loving it. And with all that being said, that does it for today's petty news. So please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to this channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends. And also, don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.